Chapter 1, The Signal Lost. The bridge of the Resolute hummed with low-energy vibrations as Captain Maya Torres paced, her booted footsteps echoing in the small but highly advanced human warship. Around her, holographic readouts flickered, displaying streams of data from the nearby Emberfall colony system. Maya stopped to scrutinize the largest display, a projection of Emberfall and its ruined orbital station. "Report," she barked, her voice carrying the authority of a seasoned officer who had earned every medal pinned to her chest. Her XO, Jarnix, a tall, silver-scaled insectoid known as a Karen, raised his compound eyes toward her. The Karen were known for their meticulous attention to detail and loyalty to their leaders, a trait Maya deeply appreciated. "Captain, we're nearing Emberfall's last known position. Long-range scans confirm an absence of human comm traffic. However, we're detecting a buildup of unusual gamma emissions around the orbital remains." "Unusual how?" Maya pressed, crossing her arms tightly. "Localized concentrations, erratic spikes," Jarnix replied, his antennae twitching with anxiety. "Almost as if there was a battle," Maya finished for him, her jaw tightening. The words felt heavy in her mouth, but she'd long since learned to confront dark possibilities head-on. "Helm, reduce velocity. Keep us in sensor range but out of potential threat zones." The Resolute slid smoothly into the outer orbit of Emberfall. As they drew closer, the true devastation became apparent. The colony's orbital defense platform had been obliterated, its fragmented pieces drifting like jagged memories of a forgotten battle. Maya's eyes darkened as she took in the scene, trying to piece together what had happened here. "Captain, you need to see this," Lieutenant Baker called, his voice carrying a mix of fear and exhilaration. The young tech specialist was hunched over his console, fingers flying across the interface. Maya joined him, her gaze narrowing at the readout on the screen. "Explain." Baker nodded, a bead of sweat trickling down his brow. "I've isolated a signal buried beneath layers of interference, like someone's trying to hide it. It's human." "Put it through," Maya ordered, a glimmer of hope surfacing amidst her growing dread. Static crackled, then a desperate voice emerged. "To any vessel. Emberfall, under attack, unknown enemy, survivors, Undercity, need, he." The transmission cut out abruptly, leaving only the hollow echo of the plea in its wake. "Ma'am, should we proceed?" Jarnix asked, his mandibles clicking softly in what Maya recognized as nervous tension. Maya didn't hesitate. "We're going down there. Helm, prep a landing shuttle. Lieutenant Baker, you're with me. Jarnix, you have command of the Resolute until I return." The crew exchanged looks, fear mingled with loyalty. They knew the risks of venturing into a dead colony. But for Captain Maya Torres, no human voice crying out for help would go unanswered. The shuttle ride to Emberfall's surface was tense. The silence was punctuated only by the thrum of the engines and the distant crackle of atmospheric interference. Maya checked her pulse rifle for the third time, more out of habit than necessity. "You ever seen anything like this, Captain?" Baker asked, his voice a mix of nerves and awe. "Not this bad," Maya admitted, eyes fixed on the burned clouds outside. "But I've seen colonies go dark. It's never good." "Whatever hit Emberfall," Jarnix chimed in through the comms, "left no signs of traditional orbital bombardment. Energy residue is inconsistent with known weaponry." Maya's grip tightened on her rifle. "So, either a new player entered the game, or one we've never understood came knocking." The shuttle burst through the cloud cover, revealing a devastated cityscape. Emberfall's buildings, once a testament to human determination and innovation, lay in ruins. Fire smoldered amidst jagged metal and shattered concrete. Smoke curled into the sky like dark tendrils, hiding whatever secrets the colony still held. Touching down in 30 seconds, the pilot announced, his voice strained. "Captain, I'm picking up movement, metallic signatures." "Automated defenses?" Baker asked, his tone hopeful. Maya shook her head, eyes narrowing. "No. This feels deliberate." The shuttle landed with a heavy thud, kicking up ash and dust. As the ramp descended, the smell of scorched metal and ozone filled the air. Maya stepped out first, pulse rifle raised, her senses on high alert. Around her, the ruined city loomed, oppressive and silent. "Form up," she ordered. "Stay tight, Anne." A shrill, mechanical screech cut through the air. Shadows moved between broken buildings, metal limbs glinting in the dim light. Machines, sleek, angular, and unmistakably hostile, emerged, their eyeless visages fixed on the intruders. "Hostiles!" Maya shouted, just as the machines surged forward with terrifying speed. Pulse fire erupted from the human team, lighting up the ruins with bursts of blue and red energy. The machines moved as one, swift, efficient, and relentless. It wasn't long before the team realized they were facing something far more than simple rogue AIs. "Baker! To your left!" Maya shouted, firing a burst that sent a machine crashing to the ground. Sparks erupted from its joints, but even as it fell, it clawed toward them. "They're adapting," Baker yelled, fear etched across his face. "Every time we hit one, it changes tactics." "Then we change faster," Maya snapped, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She activated her calm resolute, "We need support now. Jarnix, get ready to pull us out if this turns bad." As more machines closed in, Maya knew this was no ordinary enemy. Whatever had come to Emberfall was intelligent, relentless, and wholly alien. If they were to survive, they would need every ounce of human ingenuity and every ally they could muster. "Fall back to cover," she ordered, rallying her crew. "We make our stand here and we show them exactly what humanity is made of." Chapter 2: Shadows of the Undercity. Pulsefire lit up the ruins of Emberfall as Captain Maya Torres and her team dug in, their weapons blazing against the relentless wave of machines. Sparks and shredded metal scattered through the air as the human defenders fought desperately, but the enemy was relentless, adapting to every tactic and weapon they employed. "Captain!" Lieutenant Baker shouted, his voice cracking with both exertion and fear. He slammed another energy cell into his rifle as he ducked behind a chunk of crumbling concrete. "They're coordinating too well. It's like they're learning every move we make." "I know," Maya growled, firing off 3 precise shots that blasted apart a mechanical limb crawling toward them. "We need to fall back, these things will wear us down if we stay exposed." The mechanical enemies, tall and spider-like with sleek, segmented limbs, moved with frightening precision. Their outer shells absorbed some energy bursts, while others sparked and buckled as if from damage. But no matter how many went down, more seemed to emerge from the shadows of the ruined colony. "Baker, on me. Jarnix, I need a tactical scan of the immediate area." Maya's voice was clipped but controlled, beneath her exhaustion lay a fierce determination. She would not abandon Emberfall's survivors without a fight. "Scanning," Jarnix's calm voice replied over comms. "I'm detecting an access point roughly 200 meters from your location. It leads underground, to what was once Emberfall's emergency infrastructure. Likely where survivors have gone." "Confirmed," Maya replied. "Everyone, fall back. Make for that access point." Baker, breathing heavily, exchanged a glance with her. "Do we know what's waiting for us down there?" "No," Maya said, teeth gritted as she fired another shot that blew apart an approaching machine's core. "But it can't be worse than this." The squad moved as one, laying down suppressive fire as they retreated. The machines pressed forward, clattering with relentless purpose. One lunged at Maya, its limbs whirring. She sidestepped and brought her boot down on its joint, snapping it with a satisfying crunch before planting an energy bolt between what passed for its eyes. "Move, now," she commanded, and the team broke into a sprint, weaving through twisted metal and rubble. The access point, a metal hatch partially hidden beneath debris, loomed ahead. "Captain, incoming!" Baker shouted, pointing as a trio of machines leapt from the upper levels, aiming to intercept them. Maya didn't hesitate. She tossed a high-yield concussion grenade, timing it perfectly. The explosion tore through the air, shredding the machines mid-flight. For a brief moment, silence reigned. "Get that hatch open," Maya ordered. Baker dropped to his knees, using his tech expertise to bypass the damaged electronic locks. Sparks flew as he worked, his fingers moving frantically. "Almost there," he muttered. Behind him, the ground trembled, more of the mechanical horrors were approaching. "Hurry, Baker!" Maya urged, her eyes never leaving the advancing shadows. With a final crackle of energy, the lock disengaged. The hatch groaned open, revealing a rusted stairway descending into darkness. Maya motioned for her team to move, covering their retreat with precise bursts of fire. As soon as they were through, she followed, pulling the hatch shut just as metal claws scraped against it from above. The undercity of Emberfall was a stark contrast to the devastation above. It was a labyrinth of tunnels, corridors, and forgotten maintenance rooms. Faint emergency lights flickered, casting long shadows that danced eerily. The air was thick with dust and the faint hum of ancient machinery. "Everyone check in," Maya said, her voice echoing slightly. "All present," Baker replied, though he still panted from exertion. The others nodded, scanning their surroundings warily. The threat above had been temporarily left behind, but that didn't mean they were safe. Jarnix's voice crackled over the comm captain. "I'm reading energy fluctuations in your vicinity. Recommend proceeding with caution." "Understood. Stay alert." Maya motioned for the team to move, their footsteps echoing softly. She kept her rifle raised, eyes and ears straining for any sign of movement. They navigated through winding passages, past storage rooms filled with dust-covered crates, and through corridors lined with obsolete machinery. Emberfall's undercity had been built as an emergency shelter and utility hub, one that now felt more like a tomb. "Captain, look," Baker whispered, pointing. His beam of light illuminated a streak of blood leading deeper into the tunnels. Maya clenched her jaw. Survivors. Following the trail, they found themselves in a large chamber, the heart of the undercity's power grid. It was dimly lit, with rows of flickering consoles and towering energy conduits. In the center, huddled together and armed with scavenged weapons, were humans, survivors of Emberfall. Their eyes widened as Maya's team approached. "Hold fire!" Maya called out, raising one hand in a gesture of peace. "We're here to help." A gaunt man, wearing the tattered remains of a security uniform, stepped forward. His eyes were hollow, haunted by what he'd witnessed. "You shouldn't have come. They'll follow you." "We received your signal," Maya replied, softening her tone. "We came because you called for help." The man shook his head, despair etched into every line of his face. "You don't understand. The machines, whatever they are, came from the mines. We dug too deep." The survivors murmured in agreement, fear evident in their voices. "What did you find?" Maya pressed, feeling the weight of his words. "An artifact," the man replied, his voice trembling. "Old. Alien. The moment we touched it, everything changed. The machines awakened." Baker paled. "Captain, if it's an artifact, it could be why they're here and why they won't stop." Maya considered this. "We need to destroy it, then. Find a way to shut them down." The man hesitated, glancing around at his terrified people. "It's deep in the mines. Heavily guarded. No one has come back alive." "We've come this far," Maya said, resolve hardening in her voice. "And we're not leaving until this is over." A low rumble shook the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the survivors exchanged frightened looks. The machines were already searching for a way in. "Captain, they're coming," Baker whispered, fear in his eyes. "Then we'll be ready," Maya said, her voice firm. She turned to the survivors. "Help us fortify this place. Show us the path to the mines. We end this together." In the flickering light of the undercity, desperate hope flickered to life. Humanity would not go quietly. They would face the darkness and show it what they were made of. Chapter 3, Into the Depths. The tremor that shook the undercity reverberated through the walls, dislodging dust and causing the emergency lights to flicker. Captain Maya Torres clenched her jaw as she scanned the frightened faces of Emberfall's survivors. This was no time for hesitation. The machines would find a way through eventually. They always did. "Listen up." Maya's voice cut through the murmurs and anxious whispers. "We have two options: run and be hunted like animals, or fight and end this once and for all." A heavy silence followed, broken only by the distant clanking of metal limbs. A woman with cropped hair, standing with a makeshift blaster in her hands, stepped forward. "You're asking us to face the mines. No one's come back from there." Maya met her gaze, unflinching. "I'm asking you to fight for your home. For your people. For every colony out here that could suffer the same fate. We'll lead the charge. You won't be alone." A thin man in his 50s spoke up, his voice rough. "What do we need to do?" "Help us reinforce this position," Maya said, her eyes sweeping the room. "We'll create a fallback point here. Those who can't fight should remain to hold it. The rest, show us the path to the mines." A ripple of determination spread through the group. Humans had built Emberfall as a testament to their resilience on the galactic frontier, and that spirit refused to be snuffed out. In moments, the chamber became a flurry of motion. Survivors hauled debris, welded barriers, and readied improvised weapons while Maya's team worked alongside them. The sound of metal grinding against metal in the distance spurred their efforts. With the defenses set, Maya, Lieutenant Baker, and a small group of armed survivors prepared to descend into the mines. The gaunt security officer, who'd introduced himself as Reddick, led the way. His eyes darted nervously down the narrow, twisting corridors, each step seeming to cost him an immense effort. "Once, these tunnels were our lifeblood," Reddick murmured as they moved deeper. "Now they're a graveyard." The air grew colder, thick with dampness and the metallic tang of ore. The faint light from glowsticks barely pierced the darkness, casting elongated shadows that danced like specters. The further they went, the more oppressive the silence became until it was broken by Baker's quiet gasp. The walls around them bore deep gouges, as if massive claws had torn through solid rock. Scattered remains of mining equipment lay broken and twisted. What caught Maya's attention, however, was a set of ancient, alien carvings etched into the stone. "What is this?" she whispered, running her gloved fingers over the strange symbols. "No one knows," Reddick replied. "The miners thought it was just an old ruin. Until they disturbed it." Baker's voice trembled. "Captain, these carvings, they match known pre-Union artifacts, but they're older. Much older." "Whatever it is, it's driving those machines," Maya said, withdrawing her hand. "We find it. We destroy it." The group pressed on. As they neared a cavernous chamber, an eerie blue glow spilled out, pulsing like a heartbeat. The air hummed with energy, setting their teeth on edge. Maya signaled for caution, moving silently toward the light. They emerged onto a ledge overlooking a massive underground expanse. At the center, half buried in stone, lay a monolithic artifact, roughly cylindrical, covered in alien runes that shifted and shimmered. Machines, dozens of them, moved with single-minded purpose around the artifact, as if protecting a sacred relic. "It's broadcasting," Baker whispered, his eyes wide with awe and terror. "The artifact's the source. It's commanding them." "Then we destroy it," Maya said grimly. "How?" Reddick asked, voice strained. "Look at them." Maya's mind raced. Direct assault would be suicide. But she refused to back down. "Baker, if we disrupt the artifact's energy source, can we disable it?" "Maybe. It depends on how it's powering the signal," he replied, eyes fixed on the alien structure. "But whatever energy it's channeling, it's beyond anything we've seen." "Figure it out," Maya said. "We'll cover you." Reddick gestured toward a narrow path leading closer. "There's a service tunnel that runs around the chamber. It'll get us within striking distance." "Perfect," Maya replied. "Stay low. Stay quiet." They moved quickly and silently, their every step echoing faintly in the vast chamber. The machines continued their patrols, their movements precise and unerring. Maya's grip tightened on her rifle, every breath felt like a countdown to discovery. Baker reached a console embedded in the stone, remnants of the miner's initial study. He began working quickly, connecting wires and bypassing circuits. "I'll overload the energy conduits," he whispered. "It should destabilize whatever field it's generating." "Good. But be quick," Maya said, her eyes scanning for threats. Then, as if on cue, one of the machines paused, its sensors shifting in their direction. The brief moment of stillness was enough. With a shriek of metal, it charged, and the others followed. Contact! Maya roared, unleashing a burst of energy fire. The first machine crumpled, but the rest surged forward, relentless. Reddick and the survivors fired, their makeshift weapons flashing. Metal limbs clashed with human resolve in a brutal melee. Baker! Maya shouted, dodging a strike that would have cleaved her in two. She countered with a precisely aimed shot, severing a machine's limb. Almost there, he yelled, sweat dripping from his forehead. Sparks flew as he worked frantically. The machines pressed their attack, adapting, shifting tactics with frightening speed. One lunged at Maya, its claws whirring. She sidestepped, bringing her rifle up in a two-handed swing that smashed its sensor array. Another lunged, but Reddick tackled it, giving Maya just enough time to fire a disabling shot. The survivors fought desperately, knowing each second bought Baker precious time. Got it! Baker screamed as the console flashed green. The artifact's glow intensified, then flickered. A deep rumble shook the cavern. Energy arced wildly from the alien runes, striking machines and stone alike. Sparks and bursts of light filled the chamber as the machines convulsed, their movements becoming erratic. It's destabilizing! Baker shouted, pulling himself away from the console. We need to get out now. Fall back! Maya ordered, covering their retreat. The machines spasmed, turning on each other as the artifact's control faltered. The chamber shuddered, cracks spider-webbing through the stone. They sprinted up the narrow path, the roar of collapsing rock and the dying screeches of machines behind them. Just as they reached the tunnel entrance, the ground heaved. Maya pushed Baker ahead, diving as the cavern behind them imploded with a deafening crash. Dust and debris filled the tunnel. Silence followed. Maya coughed, forcing herself upright. Is everyone okay? We're here, Baker wheezed, his eyes wide with disbelief. We did it. Reddick, bloodied but alive, nodded. The artifact is gone. And so are the machines. Then we made Ember fall ours again, Maya said, a weary but fierce smile crossing her face. But this isn't over. Whatever that artifact was, others will want to know. In the flickering light, surrounded by the remnants of the battle, Maya knew the fight for humanity's survival had only just begun. Chapter 4, Rising from Ashes. The air in Emberfall's Undercity was thick with dust, but for the first time in what felt like an eternity, the oppressive silence had lifted. Captain Maya Torres, bruised and exhausted, leaned against the tunnel wall, letting out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Around her, Baker, Reddick, and the surviving colonists began to take stock of the aftermath. The artifact was gone, destroyed in a burst of energy that had obliterated its control over the machines. But Emberfall was still a ruin, and whatever secrets had been buried beneath it had stirred forces beyond their understanding. Captain, Baker said, his voice raw, we need to get back to the surface. Whatever's left of it, the others need to know it's safe, at least for now. Maya nodded, her mind already turning toward their next steps. Reddick, you and the others take point. We'll make our way up carefully. Together, they retraced their path, passing shattered machinery and scorched walls. The Undercity was still littered with the remnants of battle, but the humming menace of the machines was gone. For now. The ascent was grueling. When Maya and her group finally emerged into the dim light of the surface, the devastation of Emberfall stretched out before them, a reminder of the price they'd paid. Smoke curled from blackened craters, and the once proud towers lay in ruins. But it was also a place where hope, however fragile, flickered once more. Jarnix's voice crackled through Maya's earpiece. Captain, we're reading seismic activity below ground. The artifact's collapse triggered additional cave-ins. The area is becoming unstable. Maya glanced back at the entrance to the Undercity. Understood. We'll need a full evacuation. Jarnix hesitated. And the artifact's remains? Gone, Maya said. There's nothing left to recover. Not entirely true, Baker interjected. fragments of the energy it emitted, residual signals, might linger. Whatever was here, it could have been a beacon, or a warning. Maya's eyes narrowed. One crisis at a time. We get the survivors to safety, then worry about who might come looking. Hours passed as they worked to stabilize the situation. Maya's team and the survivors moved with a renewed sense of purpose, securing supplies and patching up wounds. Messages crackled across long-range comms. The Resolute was coordinating with nearby ships and other human colonies. Word of Emberfall's plight had spread, help was coming. Maya took a moment to watch as medics tended to the wounded and engineers rigged temporary shelters from debris. Her team had faced death and come out on the other side. Emberfall would rise again. Captain Torres, a gravelly voice called. Reddick approached, exhaustion etched deep into his features, but a hint of resolve remained. You said you'd help us fight for our home. I didn't think anyone would come. Not really. Maya met his gaze. We don't leave our people behind. Not ever. Reddick's lips pressed together in a thin line. Then you should know, the artifact wasn't the first sign of trouble. Before the machines attacked, we intercepted signals. Bursts of static, coordinates sent into deep space. Someone or something was listening. Maya's blood ran cold. How far did they reach? No way to know, Reddick said, shaking his head. But if whoever or whatever built those machines is still out there, they might be on their way. Maya considered this. The destruction of the artifact might have delayed them, but it would not deter a determined foe. Then we prepare, she said. If they come, we'll be ready. The days that followed were a blur of rebuilding and strategizing. Relief ships arrived, bringing supplies, medics, and reinforcements. Engineers worked tirelessly to stabilize the shattered colony infrastructure. Maya never stopped moving, never stopped planning. There was too much at stake. Late one night, with the skies of Emberfall filled with stars and the distant hum of repair drones, Baker approached Maya. Captain, you should get some rest. Maya, standing atop the partially rebuilt command center, shook her head. Can't. Too much to do. You did it, you know, Baker said, his voice quiet. You saved this place. For now, Maya replied, her eyes on the horizon. The galaxy is big, Baker. Too big to think we're safe. He nodded. You think they'll come back? I know they will, she said. And when they do, we'll meet them. Not as victims, but as a force to be reckoned with. Silence fell between them, broken only by the distant clanging of metal. Maya looked down at the survivors below, now working alongside her crew. They were tired, battered, but alive. Emberfall's people were already rising from the ashes. Humanity's got a reputation, Maya continued, more to herself than to Baker. They think we're reckless. Too stubborn for our own good. And maybe we are, Baker said with a small smile. It's why we win. She turned to him, a spark of defiance in her eyes. You're damn right. As dawn broke over Emberfall, Maya stood watch. She knew the road ahead would be hard. More battles, more enemies waiting in the shadows. But that was the burden of standing on the frontier, of making your mark in a galaxy that underestimated you. And humanity would continue to stand. Because that's what they did. One fight at a time. One victory at a time. Whatever lay ahead, they were ready.